Hello everyone, thank you for joining us again on the Seafood Matters podcast. Please press subscribe and share it with family and friends. It's a real help for the podcast. In this episode, I'm delighted to welcome my good friend James Anderson, renowned and well-respected fisherman from Shetland and chairman of the Shetland Fishermen's Association. Hi James, welcome.
Hello. Yeah, thank you.
Before we get going, for the benefit of our listeners, could you talk us through your career path and how it's brought you to where you are today?
Yes, well, I started fishing for a living when I was 16, but we were fishing before that with small boats. So we've been in boats all of our life, really, from a young age. We had small rowing boats, and then we had boats without boards and creels and so on. And then I went fishing with my father. My first full-time job was my father on the 56-foot fertile. We called her the fertile. She was the Aquila from Bucky. And we had her about a year. And then we built the new Alice and Kay in Campbellton in 1988. So I was 17 when we built her. And we kept her till 99, I believe. We sold her, and then there was a small gap, and then me and the new partnership went together and we built a new Alice and Kay in Carstensen shipyard in Denmark in 2001. And we've still got that boat now. So I'm 56 now. Yeah, we've had this boat 24 years. And I'm still fishing. We've sold the company just last year, and but I'm still involved in fishing the boat for the new owners just now until we see how it plays out.
Okay. When you mentioned the first Alice and Kay, I take it that was the first Alice and Kay, the Campbellton one.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, the Campbellton in 1988. Yeah, we built her.
I thought it was a real fantastic book on the skerries, and there's a piece in it where it says, I think the island was empty when the Alice and Kay was getting launched in Campbellton.
That would have been true. Yeah, there was 2 busloads that went down from Aberdeen. We went away on the boat, I think. That was the flight, I can't remember. But yeah, we had a big luncheon do, and everybody was invited, so it was good.
It's great to think the whole island was empty. I thought it was brilliant. Well, the NGOs make great play about the impact of bottom trawling on the seabed. Tell our listeners what your view is on that, and isn't it widely accepted the seabed repairs itself very quickly?
Yeah, I'm not sure. The kind of bottom on it gets portrayed sometimes for destroying something. We keep destroying this thing. It's made out, you think it was some kind of beautiful forest. There was flowers and all kinds of growth there. But when you see the cameras put down, the seabed we tow on is mostly mud. It's very barren. There's no sunlight down there. There's very little growth of anything where we're fishing. We don't fish an area, destroy it, and then find a new place. It doesn't work like that at all. The fish goes to certain places where we can access it, and we've been doing that for. Been Aberdeen trawlers were coming up to Shetland and fishing in the 50s, and maybe before that, and we've fished the same area all my life. And there's good years, there's not so good years, but there's no sign in my time fishing at all that what we do is damaging anything, because it comes back exactly the same year after year, decade after decade, and that's an unbelievably good thing. There's not many industries could say the same thing. We catch fish in a sustainable way. That means we can keep doing it, and we've taken a lot of food ashore, high value food, and we can keep doing that. And it seems to be something that nature lets us keep doing. So I don't think that the whole idea that we destroy something and then we move on and then we destroy it, if we were doing that, we'd been gone a long time ago. So I just don't think it's a fair comment. It's the kind of thing you might believe, if you didn't know better. But it's just simply not the case.
I remember back in the 50s and 60s when my father was a fisherman in the Murray Firth, he used to say could be very cyclical, and they would take off, but they would come back on again.
Yeah, that is how it is. It's if you read John Goodlet's book on the cod fisherman, going way back into the 1800s when the cod smacks, it was the same day. I mean, they weren't bottom trawling; they were catching by hook and line, and they were fishermen leaving Shetland and going down to the Papa Bank north of Orkney and getting good catches of cod. And some years they had there wasn't any cod. There was no bottom trawling. There was nothing that you could say was destroyed anything. But even then, it was cyclical. And if they'd been the ENGOs in those days, they would have been saying the same thing, I'm sure. But it doesn't weigh up. It doesn't hold up to good debate, I don't think. I think if you really push back on it, I think it doesn't hold up what they're saying.
Our Prime Minister Keir Starmer's Brexit reset, what sort of impact will that have on fishing? Is there a suspicion that Starmer is using UK fishing as a trade-off with Brussels?
Yes, I think there's not much question about that at all. I think it was obviously more important enough for the European fleets to use it. They obviously told the leaders that it was very important that they got a long-term deal on fisheries, and our government, I think, was quite happy to let them have that if it meant an easier path to this year's more important things, and what they likely saw as being more important to the population on the whole. Fishing's an easy one to kick. There's not too many of us, and I suppose the votes isn't going to knock them out of government either if they don't treat us the way they should do. But no, I think there's no question about that. We were a power. We got, not for the first time, we got used.
And when you mention the EU boats, obviously they're fishing all around you. When the methods of fishing they have, okay, the NGOs hammer bottom trawling with the impact on the seabed, but there must be a massive impact with gillnet and longlining.
Yes, yeah. Everything has an impact. I mean, the tangle netting on the continental shelf west of Shetland is unlimited. There's no limit to the amount of gear you can have. And so one boat, maybe built in, say, the 80s, would have had a hydraulic system and a hauler that could maybe haul so many nets a day. I would think that haulers, everything will be got much faster. You can haul more gear. They can hire in cheap labour. These boats have labour from Indonesia, South America, anybody they can get that will go to sea for the minimum that they're allowed to get. I don't know who even keeps a check on these things for that boats, but if you've got a hauler that can haul 50 nets a day, and in 15 years' time it can haul 100 nets a day, they've doubled the fishing capacity without having to change the boat, as you would say. It might look that they've not increased, but there's no limit to the gear they can work, and that age is absolutely covered. So there's a lot of fish being caught by them, and the gear gets lost. It gets it doesn't work good with mobile gear. So when we're fishing the same area, it's inevitable you end up coming together, and then there's gear gets left on the seabed, gets cut, and that's never comes up again. It's just left to rot, and it's a bad thing. But we've been fighting that for a while, and we haven't got very far at all. It's not even a foreign fleet, really. Most of them are flagged into the UK, so they get looked on as UK vessels. But like I say, it's unlimited, so there's not an inch of that age that's not covered in nets at the time of year when they want to, and makes it difficult for us.
And am I right? Can they leave their gear fishing even when they come into land.
Yes, it's not meant to be left any longer than 72 hours, but there's no way anybody knows how long it's left. And I doubt if those vessels can go in, land, get back to sea and haul all the gear within 72 hours. But like I say, that's what the law is, but that's the only law. There's no limit to the length they can have. So the temptation for them, the disincentive to get as much gear out as they can. And when they land the catch, if it's left out for, I don't know, 150 hours or whatever, who knows? Because they're going to fish to the maximum they can. They're not going to fish to the amount they can haul just the day they land. They may be hauling it in 3 days when they're at sea and they're not landing, but to go in all the way to the west coast of Scotland from Shetland, land, come back off again, I doubt if that gear's hauled within 72 hours.
Yeah. When they go on about impact, the NGOs, they don't seem to include in impact the amount of seabirds and sea mammals that are caught in their gear when it's ghost fishing.
No, we seem to be, I mean, the worst thing is if gear's left on the bottom. That's no good for anybody at all, and that's inevitably happening when you get a big fleet of gear and boats leaving it at sea when they go on land and so on. It's inevitable that gets caught up in the mobile fleet, and then, like you say, well, it's sitting down there catching fish for probably a long time after it's been lost. Yeah, I don't know about the NGOs, but bottom trawling seems to be the easy target, but I don't think it's fair to say that that's any more in practice what these fleet is. Maybe the other way, I would say.
Because, I mean, as quite a number of trawler men have said to me, maybe when they're in landing, their gear's on board with them. There's not left in the sea.
Then we lose the area. When we come into land, then we come back out, and then there'll be the tangle net fleet. They've got the gear out where we were, and we get told we have to go and fish some other place now because they have the area, but they leave the gear for months. They might have the gear out for 3 months without. I mean, they'll haul it every 3 days or 5 days, whatever they manage to haul it in. But when they go on land, the gear's out, so that they keep the area. They have an advantage over us as far as that goes, and we don't want to go towing through the gear. It's just a mess. You don't get fish, you don't get peace, and you're causing gear to be left on the bottom of the seabed. So it doesn't work well with a mobile fleet at all. It's a problem that's gotten much worse. It didn't used to be like this in the 80s and 90s at all. It wasn't like this, but they've really expanded the operation up around here. And they're clever. They've basically made it a UK fleet, but it's not a UK fleet at all. It's a flag fleet. Just something we try to deal with the government, but we don't get anywhere. We haven't been able to get anywhere.
And I believe that am I right in saying about 40 or 50 mile of gear, and if you include about 40 or 50 boats, that's incredible amount of sea that they're decimating.
Yeah, east side of Shetland, all the way up around the edge, and you follow down the 100 fathom roughly, 200 meter line, all the way west. We haven't been west well, but they speak to West Coast fishermen. It's the same issue. So they like to fish the continental shelf, and most of that shelf is at one time or another is being fished by these vessels. And government doesn't have a big hold on what's going on with them either, I don't think.
Okay. And if we could move on, how did you feel about the Attenborough film calling for a blanket ban on bottom trawling and MPAs?
I thought it was unfair. It was a low blow. And I used to have a lot of respect for David Attenborough, and same as everybody else, and enjoy watching his stuff. But I think if we could have sat down with him before that was put out, I'm sure that we would have been portrayed in a better light. he's as far as I'm aware, there was no contact made with the industry before that went out. It was just a low blow. It wasn't fair. It's not accurate, and I was annoyed with it, and had to be played and replayed forever. The same old lies and nonsense, and he obviously believes it. I don't think he thinks he's lying at all. I think he believes it, but I wish we could have had a day with him, showing him what we do and the history of what we've been doing and how it is, and he would not have put it out like that, I don't think. I would like to think he wouldn't, anyway.
Worries me, it's more what's behind him than him himself, in every sense of the word, yeah.
Yeah, that is an issue. The people who, these ENGOs, they don't do it for nothing. These groups, they need income, and they need to persuade the donors that to give them some money. So it's a bit of an industry in itself. And if they can persuade some pop star, whatever, they give them a few million, and they're not going to do it if they come out and say bottom trawling's not quite so bad at all. It's they're feeding a lot of people. They have a way of life, and it's been going on for hundreds of years. There's still a lot of fishermen in these places. They're not going to get the pay. They have to come out and say everything is being destroyed and it's the end of the world, and then they get the money from these rich donors, I suppose. I don't know who funds them all, and sometimes it's big companies, I believe, who do it to keep them off their back. But so the fishermen get a bit of a kicking from them because it's easy target, and I think that helps them financially.
Well, I believe the donor on the ocean film is a billionaire in mining in Australia. So think of the impact he's had on the environment.
They should do a program on how much damage that's doing to the environment. See how he takes that, because that's the kind of thing to be up against, and maybe knowing when he's paying for this and funding some of this stuff, maybe doesn't get said. But I'm sure the ENGOs are going to give somebody who's donating to them a lot of money an easier ride than they're going to give somebody like us who seem to have to fight them the whole time.
James, going back to when we're talking about impact and the Europeans and with the gill net, tangle net, long line and that, the ghost fishing when their gear is drifting in the sea, what sort of damage do you feel that's creating?
I think the ghost fishing early after it's lost, yes, definitely. Then it gets dirty, and then it gets brittle. The nets get brittle, and they'll not fish so much as far as but they're still there for. Seabait. They're going to the plastics. Eventually, it's breaking up and going into the sea, and so it's very bad impact on the ocean on the whole. If it is lost at sea, it's not a good thing at all. It needs to be hauled and disposed of properly, and that's not always happening. It's maybe happening better now because there's been a bit of a campaign, but I'm sure some of that stuff is being dumped at sea. We found it like that sometimes because it's easier for these boats to dump it at sea than to take it in and pay to get it disposed of. So it depends how bad the skippers is in these boats and how little they care. But if they don't care, it's easy for them to discard that at sea, and more incentive again. They're going to be financially better off if they don't care and they just dump it. But nobody can check these things, and but all we do know is the impact of it is very bad for ghost fishing and just mess and just sea litter, and it breaks up into the sea and ends up into the food chain eventually. So yeah, it's not good.
No, indeed. When how do you feel that the film hammers bottom trawling, but skates across and past things like aggregate dredging, seabed mining, offshore wind farms, and
yeah, I haven't actually watched it because I saw the clip about the bottom trawling, I'm so annoyed with it. I do not feel like giving it a viewing figure. But so I couldn't really answer that because I haven't seen how much he says about the other industries. But yeah, I believe bottom trawling gets picked out again. That's an easy target. So
No, James, there's nothing said. No, I just wondered what you felt, the fact that he misses aggregate dredging, seabed mining. He says nothing about all that.
what about the impact on the planet if we were to stop bottom trawling? How much protein would need to come out of agriculture? How many forests would have to be cut down to plant more crops and so on? It's not a case of stopping trawling. You would have to replace the food somehow. That can't be done without having an impact on the planet. So it's not good enough for them to just have a go at one industry. They need to say in balance how they would replace the protein that the world gets from seafood. And also, if they keep attacking us the way they do, we have to firefight the whole time. It'd be much better if they could just discuss things with us. We might find paths that makes it better for everyone. But when you just come up to somebody and say to them, "You need to go. You have to be finished. You're no good. We ban you." That person can't discuss anything. They need to go into survival mode, and any good discussion gets lost because they've decided to attack you in such a way that you really are fighting for your life to keep going. And if they'd come to you and say, "We're looking at some ways of making this better. How can we do this? And we want to work with," that would have been a far better approach. But we don't get that from them. We just get told they want to ban it. It's not mature, not good. They're not coming from a good place to actually make it better. But by doing it the way they do it.
When you said there that it just asked, can we really feed a growing global population without bottom trawling?
They maybe can, but what impact will that have? Will they farm? Will they have fish farming? Because there's no way they can. They have to feed the fish. So that's a whole new story, and that's not without impact. And if it's on land, well, they're going to take away trees or whatever forests. They're going to have to do something because the amount of seafood that we trawl and going into the food to feed the high quality food. I mean, this is the stuff that your cod and your so on. It's the best you can get, and I think it's. I don't think you have a good argument there at all. I think it's a pity they keep going with it like that. Because a ban, I think, is just nonsense, and I think if they were thinking about it properly, they wouldn't even want one themselves. I just think they haven't done that.
Well, as Michael Kaiser said in a previous podcast, they would be decimating some of our rainforest to do that.
Yeah, of course they would. They can't just stop one thing and say that's a plus. There would be a negative immediately after that while they try to replace that food. And whether that negative is less damaging than the fishing is we don't know. But I think it's a much better idea to work with the industry and see if we can do things a bit better, and they can help us rather than calling for us to be banned, just to go away, which is just not. It's just a nonsense. It's silly.
Do you think it's a classic case of unintended consequence? Ban trawling in the UK, and we won't stop eating trawled. Whatever they import, it'll still be trawled, and it'll be from countries with weaker environmental and labour standards, looser regulation.
Yeah, exactly. But they need to answer these questions. They can't just come out and they make these documentaries and they get put on social media to a whole audience that's easily influenced, and then they go away. And it's a real battle for us to fight that, because we can come out on social media and say we're going to make a program pro fishing. Do you think Netflix would show that? Do you think that's going to get on Disney or whatever? I don't think so.
No.
Difficult to combat, but I still think the argument's good enough that we can't be shut down on the basis of what they're doing. I just don't think it's true. And I think if it gets to it when we can sit down and debate it, I think it would no government is going to follow through on this. And I doubt it anyway. I think we've got good enough argument in our favour that we can dismiss this.
Yeah, it's a good positive way of looking at it. With your time in the industry, James, you must have seen tremendous change. A lot of it'll probably be for the better.
Oh, yeah. Oh, the boats are much better. I mean, we used to go to sea and you didn't know a thing till you got back to land, what was happening in the world, or what your pals were doing. Or hadn't spoken to your family. You couldn't have a shower. There was no comforts on that boats at all. No TV. It was just really a work platform, and it was okay. Short trips. In bad weather, we would get in more. These newer boats now, though, we've got quite fast internet. We've got Sky TV. We've got all the sport channels and so on, and we've got washing machines, showers. And the accommodation is clean. No smell. You're away from the engine room. It's not like the old boats when you were next door to the engine room with basically I was like sleeping in a section of the engine room nearly, and smells and all the discomforts you got. But and a lot of the time the market for seafood was poor then, so we used to land off a lot of fish and get no pay or not much. And you would go through long spells. There's a lot happened. The market's got much better. And we've got competitive market now. We've got internet auctions and so on. But yeah, we generally know a fisherman is well paid. He's got good comfort at sea. He's got good communication, and yes, it's some of the best paid work going. I would think as a commercial fisherman. Anybody willing to put in the time and give it a go. Lots of ups and downs, of course, and negatives with anything, but it tends to be well paid. Oh, it's a good way of life. It's a good job.
And probably much safer now when it's not open decks.
Much safer. It's far better in every way. It's what, even going back in my time, it's been big changes like that. But yeah, the boats now are comfortable, and it's a better way of life now than it was then, I would say.
Have you seen a lot of progress in the actual catching side, improvements in the gear and things in your time, and probably things that don't make the headlines?
Yes, the boats have got more efficient. That's what we need to watch for, especially with the Keir Starmer deal, where you've got guaranteed access now for the EU fleet for 12 years at least. I doubt if it'll change after the 12 year, but what he's done is he's allowed some of these boats coming and fishing around Shetland now. I'm Shetland, I'll say Shetland, that's Scotland, whatever. But they're very powerful. They've got huge propellers, and they've become extremely efficient. So that's something the industry needs to watch for as we get these newer boats and the engineering gets better. We understand how to make more power come out of the same kilowatts. And the gear's it's just progress. You're always learning how to make it more efficient and so on. So it's something the industry needs to watch. And one of the reasons I'm really disappointed with the 12-year deal is it basically opened the door for a lot of effort to come on the grounds that we don't have a real check on. There's no way of controlling that now because it's an open door. But I think we'll have to watch, because where I would agree with some of the ENGOs is I do think you can catch too much fish, and it's not good for anyone. So when I see the fleets coming up from Holland and fishing around Shetland, though we never used to see them, And there's not the boats that are coming up, and these are not old boats, these are modern, powerful boats. Then we need to be careful that we don't overdo it on the fish we have around here, which, if we were in Iceland, we would probably say we would be protecting it for the national fleet in some way or another. But that's not what's happening here. This is open doors now, and it could easily be overfished. And by the time we know about it and how politics works here, it's highly unlikely to be checked. Keir Starmer's much more likely to allow any fleet than he is to.
Do you feel the public has been misled by emotional storytelling? Or is it dressed up as science?
Yeah, of course they do. That's what the point I was kind of making earlier, how they have a good reason for doing that. That's how they get the funding, I think, and they're not genuine. I don't. There's a bit mischief there with them. They'll spin a story, and they have members to please, and they want donations from people and so on. So they have to make a noise, and if there was no noise, there'd be no need for them. So they make a noise for their own sakes and keep themselves in a job. And really difficult for us to fight it, because if we're busy fishing, you can't always be answering this stuff. We just want to make a living, and we have an interest in keeping making a living, but it's not in our interest to destroy it. And if we were destroying it, we would have been gone a long, long time ago. So
the fear with a lot of people I talk to in podcasts is they're trying to make, they have been in the NGOs, they're trying to make simple solutions to complex issues, and there's not.
That's true. They don't have answers, really. They only have they chuck a grenade into the situation when they could come. They could, like I say, they could approach this, and we could have a good relationship with some of these people. But you can't have a relationship with somebody that wants to annihilate you and take you out of your employment and stop your business. And if they're working on the social media against you all the time, do they think we're going to sit down with them and discuss how we could maybe make less impact? And we're not. We don't feel like sitting down with them at all, because they don't want to listen to answers. They just want us gone.
That seems quite scary. Do you think the public have an idea how tightly regulated UK fishing actually is today?
I'm not sure. I think the public in general will know next to nothing about fishing. They'll know as much about fishing as I know about farming, which is nothing. And I can't blame the public for that. But as this social media has become a new weapon against us, I think, because before you couldn't really spread misinformation too easily. You could shove a letter through a mailbox or whatever, and you might have gotten a slot on the TV news sometime where journalist might have gone with the story. But now you can bang out negativity to millions of people in a clever way, and it doesn't matter if it's true or not. You can't check it. You could have 1,000 people working trying to check it, you still wouldn't manage it. But it's easy to send to them a message that it's bad, and the public will pick up on that, because what else are they going to do? There's nobody. Well, we try, but good news doesn't go the same way as bad news, and I don't think the public's going to open many social media pages from industry and believe it. I honestly don't think they're going to even open it. They're going to go for the David Attenborough stuff and so on. And because he's such a big name, it was a bit of a blow when he came out and did that. I would have thought he would have researched it a bit more first, but he's gone, stuck the knife in, and that's been made. And we're left with a legacy of trying to deal with that, and millions of people believing that we're doing something that we're simply not doing.
James, between Starmer and Attenborough, if you had 5 minutes, if you met them or that, and you were face to face, what would you feel like saying to them?
Well, you would need more than 5 minutes, I think, but I would love to take and be able to sit down and show them. I do it sometimes. We've had them, people on board the boat who come from the background of thinking we destroy everything, and I get to show them my electronic plotter, which is we record all the areas we've been fishing, and we do it annually. We have a track for every year, so I can overlay all my tracks from 2000 to 2025 on the same screen. It's the same places. And if we went back to the 50 year before, it's the same places. And once you see to them, look, we've been fishing the same area all this time, and do you not see how what you're saying can't be true, or how can we still be doing this? And sometimes you will get a sympathetic ear, and but yeah. So if I got a chance to speak to Keir Starmer, and I would love to, in Attenborough or whatever, if they were willing to listen, I'm absolutely positive you could convince them that what they were doing is more in the case of Attenborough. I think Starmer, that's a different story, different reasons behind what he did. But I think for Attenborough, I think you would have a good chance he could come around to seeing himself that what he was thinking wasn't true.
That would be good. If you just ask each person one word to describe the future of our fishing industry now.
One word? I don't know. I think it's what I'm looking for here. Some ways I think perilous, but that's far too negative. Yeah, I don't know. I can't think of a word just now that can describe the future of the fishing, but I'm optimistic.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
I'm optimistic that we can be tested. I'm convinced that we're not doing what the ENGO says we're doing. So the truth will always beat a lie, and they can bang on as often as they like. But if they haven't got the facts to back it up, then I think I would say optimism, because we can sit down with them anytime, and I think win that debate. But that's not the problem is they don't want to hear, and the public, maybe a good chunk of them, doesn't want to hear either. So we just need to keep trying. We're getting cleverer on social media. The Scottish Fishermen's Federation does a good Mythbusters piece on Instagram and Facebook, I suppose. I'm not on Facebook, and the Shetland Fishermen's Association, we're constantly trying to get a better message out there. But at the end of the day, we're still coming in with quality fish into the fish market and putting a lot of money to the economy. We're taking in a lot of good food. But at the end of the day, we're still doing it. And sooner or later, they can't keep saying we're going to destroy something if it isn't destroyed. We're still here. We've been here. They've been telling us this a long time. I mean, it's not as buoyant as it was a few years back, but it's much more buoyant a few years back than it was a few years before that. So it's just cyclical. And I'm sure we'll still be coming into Shetland with fish in 2050. And there'll be a whole new bunch of ENGOs still mourning. But at the end of the day, if we're still coming in with fish, then that's evidence enough for me, I think.
With any luck, the NGOs might find another easier target, lower hanging fruit.
If ENGOs, you've got marine ENGOs, you've got the formidable bunch to be dealing with, because I think every year out of university or out of college, you'll be getting a whole new crop who think the same way as the predecessors did, and it's an ongoing fight. But if we believe in what we're doing and we're careful and we don't destroy it ourselves, then I think we've got nothing to worry about. We can always show that what we do is sustainable. If it wasn't, I wouldn't be sitting speaking to you just now. Me and you have been involved in this industry all our working life, and it'll go on long after us.
That's a great way to. I respect that and admire you for it, because it's very easy these days to put the head down and think that's the end. But I love your positive view, and I think well done. I respect that.
Yeah, no, thanks for the opportunity to say it. But have you ever approached anybody from these the NGOs to see if you can have a word with them at all?
Yeah, I've had two on, and they just talk about how, well, they say that they're not wanting to, they want there to be an industry, but they just, when they're talking about bottom trawling, it's in MPAs. They say, whether I've had people also saying it's like the thin end of the wedge, and you don't know if you can trust them.
I think we need to be careful with MPS. They get put on randomly, and we need to have a big impact on these. But there's a huge amount of area we don't fish. That with most of the area we don't fish. I mean, there's far more area we don't fish than we do, and so I think we fish the shallower waters and so on, but there's an awful lot of water out there we're not fishing, and yeah, regulated by quota, by licenses, and it's not easy just to go out and get a boat and catch fish. So I think the NGOs can relax a bit. I don't think we'll be destroying the seabed and the fisheries anytime soon. If they leave us to it and speak to us in a more positive way, we can sit down with them. But if they come out and just stick the knife in your back with these documentaries and then don't give you a chance to put your side of the story, it's not good. They need to get better. Then we can speak to them then.
I mean, you're a fisherman yourself, James, so I'd be interested in your view on this one. But many a fisherman I've spoken to, not only are they not are they frightened of science, but they welcome science. They want it.
Of course, we need to know more, not less. I mean, we want to know as much as we can, but the science is weak. Especially science is extremely difficult. You just need to look at how many times it's been wrong, and sometimes you get a large quota of stock that you can't find, and sometimes there's no quota for a stock that's thick on the ground. It's extremely expensive, and governments shy away from spending that kind of money, especially with this renewables. There's maybe shifting funding into that, and less money going into fisheries. And I mean, if we look at Iceland and places like this where fishing is a much bigger piece of the economy, then it's done much better. But here, that tends to be it's the last thing they're going to give money to if they can get off with it. And I think you can see with the state of the science. The boat that they collect the science on now, she's breaking down forever. She's old, so the funding is not going to be going into it. It's going into these renewables, and so we're up against it there. But we welcome better science and more science, but it takes money, and there's work to be done for sure.
James, are you online? Are you on social media, or people can follow you? Or
but I don't. I spend so much time on fishing. I like to skip for it. So when I'm on there, I don't like getting involved. I like to go under the radar a bit. But I go on Instagram mainly for other things. I need to escape from fishing and speaking about it sometimes, and so I don't want to be on there fighting battles the whole time, which is what I tend to avoid it a bit. I like the stuff that I see when I see people saying something, but I tend not to get too vocal on it.
You're chairman of the Shetland Fishermen's Association. They have a presence online?
Yeah, we have. We keep trying to see if we can debunk some of the myths, and we had a kind of a Mythbusters page for a while. We had a scientist, fishery scientist, who sadly passed away last year, but really a good guy, Ian Napier. But he used to do a lot of work for us, and he would debunk a lot of this. And we had somebody that was knowledgeable enough that he could come up and say, well, what you're saying is simply not true. But it's difficult for us to do it without being the scientists. But no, the association is on social media a lot, and there's a lot to be positive about. But we always end up firefighting these. I just think it's disinformation. It's not being done in a nice way at all. I think it's just having a go at us and hoping we get knock it so much that we have to stop. But I don't think they care too much if it's true what they're saying. Some of them, anyway.
Yeah, indeed. James, I think on that we'll just maybe fold up, and thank you.
How about it? Thanks very much for giving me the chance, and good luck.